Hi bass players, Tatiana is here. Welcome back to my channel. Have you ever wondered how chords relate to each other and how understanding their relationships can improve your bass playing? Today we are breaking down chord relations so that you can navigate chord progressions with confidence. Let's dive in. Chord relations refer to how different chords connect within a key. If you've ever played a chord progression and felt that sense of movement or resolution, that's because certain chords naturally lead into others. I'm going to show everything with an example of C major scale, because in this key all notes are natural with no sharps and no flats. However, the same principles work in all keys. One of the best ways to understand chord relations is through Nashville number system. Each note and then each chord on these notes in a key is assigned a number based on its scale degree. For example, in the key of C major, C is the 1 chord, F is the 4 and G is the 5. Let's make a triad on each note to see what we get. For that, you need to take a note and skip the next note and take the third, skip the next one and take the fifth. When you have 3 notes or more, it's a chord. Do you remember what makes major and minor triads different? They just have different intervals between their notes. Major triads have 2 tones between the first couple of notes, and minor triads have just a tone and a half, as 2 plus 1.5 and 1.5 plus 2 is the same. The distance between 1 and 5 is always the same for major and minor triads. This is the C major triad, 1, 3, 5, 3, 1. This is the C minor triad, 1, 3, 5, 3, 1. So only 3 is different. This is for minor, this is for major, but 1 and 5 are the same. So in C major, we get a major triad from the note number 1, the minor from the note number 2, and the same from the note number 3 is going to be a minor chord. Then we have 2 major chords from the notes 4 and 5, one more minor chord from the note number 6, and diminished chord on the note number 7, and after 7 we have 1 again. The chord on the note number 7 is diminished because it has smaller interval between the notes 1 and 5 than 3.5 tones that it's supposed to be for major or minor chords. If you count it from the note B to the note D, it'll be 1.5 tones. And from the note D to the note F, you will get 1.5 tones again. So together they make 3, but for the major or minor triad, normally you have 3.5 tones. This system works in all major keys and makes transposing easier. It means, for example, that the chords starting on the notes 2, 3 and 6 will be minor in all major scales, and the chords 1, 4 and 5 will be major, and the chord number 7 will always be diminished. I've made a video about transposition, you can check it out. In a key, certain chords create tension and the others resolve that tension. We have 3 main functions for the chords: tonic, subdominant and dominant, and we call it functional harmony because they have their own functions. Tonic, it's the chord number 1, but not only. Chords 1 and 6 are relative to each other. They always form a pair as the sun and the moon, and they're relative major and minor. For example, in C major scale you don't have any sharps or flats. You won't have them in a relative minor, which is A minor, or the minor that starts on the note number 6. Each major has its minor, and each minor has its major, vice versa. Together with the chord on the note 3, they serve as a tonic. The chord on the note 3 serves less in this function, but it still can be used to substitute numbers 1 or 6 sometimes. Chords within the same group are interchangeable and they can substitute each other. Dominant. The chord on the note number 5 often resolves to the chord on the note number 1. The chord on the note number 5 creates a strong pull back to tonic, and as bass players we can show that transitional moment in our bass lines. So this is my C major. And when the chord is dominant on the note number 5, which is here, I can come back to the tonic in a number of ways. For example, or something like. The chords on the notes 5 and 7 are close to each other and they have a function that we call dominant. If you play the 7th chord on the note number 5 from the scale, you'll actually play all the notes from the triad on the note 7 as well. The dominant chord tends to lead us back to the tonic. This is what we expect to hear when we hear the dominant. This is how our human perception works. It's something from psychology, probably. The chords 2 and 4 are very close to each other too, and they form a function which is called subdominant. If you play the 7th chord on the note number 2, you'll play all the notes from the chord on the number 4 as well. Classically, the subdominant is what you play right before the dominant chord. Now you have 3 different roles for chords, and without leaving a key, or an example of C major scale without implementing any additional sharps or flats, you can create your own chord progressions varying the roles of the chords. Or you can understand better the progressions that you already play in different songs. For all 3 roles, you have the number of chords. You have 3 versions of tonic chord, 2 versions of subdominant, and 2 versions of a dominant chord. It's something to play around with. You don't have to always follow the progression TSDT, even though it's a classical kind of progression. In fact, music is much richer than that, especially modern music, and you can go something like TST or TDST or TD and get stuck on the dominant without resolution back to the tonic. Now, looking at some common chord progressions within a key, you can see the roles of those chords. Some classic chord progressions appear almost in every style of music. There are 2 essential ones. 1, 4, 5, 1. Tonic, subdominant, dominant, and tonic, used in rock, blues, and pop, and everywhere else. In C major scale, it's going to be C major, F major, G major, and C major chord back. Another one starts on the note number 2, which gives us a minor triad in a major key, then the chord number 5, then the chord number 1. This progression is very common in jazz. As a bassist, knowing these roles and common patterns will help you anticipate the chord changes and create stronger bass lines. All the relations between chords that I just showed you happen within the same major scale. It means that you can use the notes from the same scale for all transitions between the chords. Some people call it the system of modes, and they learn how to play the same scale starting on different notes. You can use it as an exercise if you want. However, in music, there are often chords that lead you away from the key which you started playing in, and after some adventures outside the initial key, you eventually come back to the key which you started playing in. Sometimes people call these adventures tonicizations or temporary tonicizations. It looks like you get a temporary tonic somewhere outside of initial key, and then after some adventures there, you come back. For example, in the key of C major, you can see sometimes the chord D major or even D7. In C major, the note D is supposed to carry the minor triad, but you get it as a major triad in this case. It serves as a dominant chord, or number 5, to G, so G is like a new tonic here. If you don't stay in the G key for long and you eventually come back to C major, so G was a tonicization. nice example from the jazz piece Laura by David Raksin. You see, the key here is C major, then it's substituted to the minor chord on 6, which is a relative A minor. Then you see D7 is taken as a tonicization to G. So D7 serves as a dominant to G, but that's temporary, and G itself serves as a dominant back to C major. You can go walk a bit outside of the tonic to any key you want and then come back. In modern music, including film music, people often use combinations of chords outside of these classical roles. For example, you can be in the key of C major and the next chord will suddenly be F sharp minor, and then you come back to C major. You see, I can't give a number to F sharp minor here because this is the chord outside of the C major scale, which I'm in at the moment. This chord change can be repeated a few times to normalize that unusual sound color. Tonicization is an often thing. However, when we are staying within the same key without transitions to the other keys, the chords have only 3 functions. It's tonic, subdominant, and dominant, that's all. Understanding chord relations helps your musicality and understanding what exactly you are playing. As a bass player, you are responsible not only for the tight rhythm, but also for the solid harmonical support, for grounding your band with your sound. Try to find out the chord functions in the song which you are currently working on, and it's 95% guaranteed that you will see all 3 functions there. You might also find some tonicizations in that song if it has them, like walking a little bit outside of the initial key and then coming back. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button and subscribe for more bass tips if you haven't subscribed yet. You are welcome to leave a comment below about your experience in understanding chord relations. Keep grooving, I will see you next time.